The Russia-Ukraine war, how it's shaking the world's economy.
Russia and Ukraine have been escalating their drone and missile attacks. And in the latest, Russia launched a record number of drones at Ukraine overnight.
The Russia-Ukraine war, which began on February 24, 2022, has been a pivotal event with far-reaching consequences. Beyond the immense human suffering and geopolitical tensions,
flying on the outskirts of Kiev.
Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the largest invasion of a neighboring country in Europe.
Leaders in Moscow say they are the aggrieved party.
The war has profoundly disrupted the global economy. In this video, we'll explore how Russia's economy fits into the global landscape.
We have the biggest range of sanctions that we've ever imposed as a country that have been implemented on Vladimir Putin and on Russia. It's a whole range of different things. I want to show you kind of one example of the kinds of things that we've been looking at here at Sky. In particular, one thing we can track is the flow of goods that are still going into Russia or not going into Russia.
The immediate and long-term effects of the war on different economies and what the future might hold. Let's start by understanding why Russia's economy is so significant to the rest of the world. Russia is a major player in the global economy, primarily because of its vast natural resources. It's one of the world's largest exporters of oil and natural gas, supplying over 40% of Europe's gas and 25% of its oil before the war. This heavy reliance on Russian energy meant that any destruction would cause economic shockwaves. Beyond energy, Russia is a key supplier of wheat, fertilizers, and metals like aluminum and nickel, essential for industries worldwide. For instance, wheat shortages affect global food supplies, while disruptions in metal exports impact manufacturing sectors, from cars to airplanes. The interconnectedness of these sectors explains why the war has caused such widespread economic turbulence. The war's immediate impact on energy prices highlights just how critical Russia is to the global economy. When the war began, energy markets reacted sharply. Natural gas and oil prices surged as European nations scrambled to replace Russian supplies. Americans felt the impact too, with gas prices hitting record highs at the pump. Energy costs soared globally, triggering a chain reaction that pushed up prices for food, transportation, and goods. In Europe, the crisis was especially severe. Countries face skyrocketing heating bills, with many turning to coal and nuclear power to fill the gap. Although Europe has since invested heavily in alternative energy sources like liquefied natural gas, LNG, and renewables such as wind and solar, these solutions are costly and take time to implement. This transition has contributed to inflation, making daily life more expensive across the globe. Energy price increases not only strained household budgets, but also set the stage for wider economic disruptions, particularly in regions most dependent on Russian resources. While the world reeled from higher energy costs, Russia's economy faced its own set of challenges. Western sanctions aimed to isolate Russia from global markets, cutting off its banks, restricting its trade, and freezing assets. Being removed from the East-West banking system made it difficult for Russian businesses to process international transactions. Despite these setbacks, Russia found some relief by pivoting its energy sales to countries like China and India, offering them discounted oil and gas. This shift has helped keep the Russian economy afloat, but hasn't been enough to offset the losses. Moreover, the departure of skilled professionals, known as a brain drain, has weakened key sectors like technology and innovation. Russia's economic adjustments, however, have created ripple effects in Europe, which has faced its own struggles due to the loss of cheap energy and the economic costs of supporting Ukraine. The war has hit Europe hard, primarily because of its previous dependence on Russian energy. High natural gas and electricity prices have hurt consumers and businesses alike. Factories that rely on affordable energy, like those producing steel and chemicals, have been forced to cut back or shut down operations. Inflation across Europe has surged, affecting food, housing, and transportation costs. At the same time, governments have had to increase military spending in response to security concerns, further straining public finances. While countries like Germany have accelerated investments in renewable energy to reduce dependency on imports, the transition will take years to fully stabilize the energy market. Europe's energy struggles contrast sharply with the strategic moves made by other global players, particularly India and China. India and China have approached the war from an economic perspective, focusing on opportunities rather than the political conflict. India, for example, has benefited from purchasing Russian oil at heavily discounted prices, This has helped India manage its energy costs and keep inflation under control. By maintaining strong ties with both Russia and Western nations, India has positioned itself as a neutral player while reaping economic benefits. China, on the other hand, has deepened its economic relationship with Russia. It has increased purchases of Russian oil and gas, while also stepping in to replace some Western companies that exited the Russian market. However, China faces its own challenges. Global instability caused by the war disrupts its export-driven economy, as higher inflation and slower growth in other countries reduce demand for Chinese goods. Both nations have shown how economic pragmatism can buffer them against some of the war's harsher effects, but their strategies also highlight the shifting balance of global power. The long-term economic impact of the war will depend on several key factors. Europe is actively working to reduce its dependence on Russian energy by diversifying its supply sources. This shift creates opportunities for suppliers in regions such as the US and the Middle East. However, in the short term, this transition is likely to keep energy prices elevated. Russia's increasing reliance on China and India is causing global trade networks to become more fragmented. At the same time, Europe and the United States are deepening their economic ties, signaling a shift toward more regionalized trade blocs. With limited access to Western technology and international markets, Russia faces the risk of prolonged economic stagnation. Although efforts are being made to boost self-reliance, they are unlikely to offset the broader economic constraints. Inflation may begin to ease as global supply chains adjust and energy markets stabilize. However, the high interest rates introduced to combat inflation are expected to slow economic growth in many regions worldwide. The Russian-Ukraine war has disrupted the global economy in ways that will take years to fully understand. It has reshaped energy markets, forced changes in trade relationships, and highlighted the vulnerabilities of global supply chains. As the world continues to adjust, what do you think the future holds for these shifting dynamics? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on global economics.